Okay, so this session we are going to recap banking. And this was the session that was some persons missed on Thursday. No, not Thursday, on Monday. Alright, so we did this session Monday, September 27th, and some persons missed the session. So we're going to be looking at entering unpresented checks, writing back stale-dated checks, using the undeposited funds account, recording deposits. We're going to be looking at transferring funds between accounts. We're going to be looking at accounting for direct deposits, and we're going to be looking at banking, bank service fees and charges, and bank reconciliation. Alright, let's begin. So the first thing we are going to be looking at is entering unpresented checks. As you know, when you just start using QuickBooks, either you migrate from another system, either you're migrating from another system, or you have a manual system that you were using. To get your first reconciliation done, you will need to enter your unpresented checks. So to do so, basically you have to establish the first month that you want to start using QuickBooks. And what you are going to be doing is to enter your unpresented checks the last day of the previous month. That means if you are going to start using QuickBooks in September, you'll enter your unpresented checks the 31st of August, sorry. And you are going to post the check just as if you are doing a transaction. So to enter your unpresented checks, you can do it two ways. You can go to write checks, and you enter the check as at the 31st. You're gonna enter the actual PAE that is on the check, but for the account you're gonna put opening balance equity, and you're going to enter the class, and you're going to enter the amount. And for your memo, you can use entry to record unpresented checks, unpresented check, as at August 31st. And you select save and close. That's one way to enter your unpresented checks, or you can use your register. So if you click on your check register here, it will bring up your registers. You just select the relevant register, which is we're using the fees account here. Select fees, and you select OK. And you would basically use the same procedure by use the same date, which is August 31st, and you're gonna enter the check number, and the payee. We're going to use a different payee this time. Same opening balance equity, and you can put the memo here. You'll get, once you untick one line, you'll get 2 lines where you can enter the memo. And you select record. So that is how you would those are the 2 methods of recording your unpresented checks. So whenever you go to banking to do your whenever you go to banking and go to reconcile and you choose the period that you're reconciling, those checks should be there. I just want to show you. I'm just gonna start a dummy reconciliation so you can see that the 2 checks are there. So there you have the 2 checks here at the top. So you'll get we are basically trying to reconcile September here. So there you have the 2 checks, you can tick them. So that's how you would reconcile, that's how you would enter your unpresented checks to be able to get your accounts reconciled. Alright, we are now going to look at writing back a stale-dated checks. We covered this in the revision class as well, so you guys should be quite familiar with this by now. A stale-dated check. Alright, so stale-dated checks, as I said earlier, are checks that are issued more than 6 months, 6 or more months ago, and that check is still not presented at the bank, so therefore the check has become stale. And in that case, what is required is that this check is written back to the account. If this is not done, what will happen is you will have a lower cash book balance, because this check would be out there and therefore your cash book balance would appear lower than it is supposed to be. So this check has to be written back to the account, and your cash book balance is in QuickBooks is your register balance. So when you go to check register, you will see your balance at the bottom right. So here we have a cash book balance of 6,570,500. That is our cash book balance. Alright, so this is the example we did, this $15,000 in the last class. So I'm gonna basically take you through the procedure again. So in order to write back a stale-dated check, you will need to have an account called a stale-dated checks payable account. So on your chart of accounts, you should have an account called Stale-dated Cheques Payable. If you don't have this account, you can create it. You can create this account, and this account is an accounts payable account, and this account would be subbed under the accounts payable, so it feeds into the accounts payable account. Once you have created that account, then what you need to do is to go to company and make general journal entries. So this is the right back step. We are going to look at the right back step, and we are going to look at the reissuing step. So there are two steps. So to write back, you are going to basically increase the balance on your bank account, and we are using the fees account. Say we have a check for $30,000. You are going to debit that account to increase the amount on your cash book, and you are going to credit stale-dated checks payables with the same $30,000. And your memo would be entry to write back. And you're going to refer to the check that you're writing back and the date. So basically, what we have just done was to debit bank, which is to increase the bank account, and credit stale-dated checks payable, which is to basically recreate that payable so that the amount is still owing. Alright, to complete the journal, we need to enter the name of on the check, the name of the person that we had written the check to, our company. And let's say Brown Stationery. And we need to assign a class for all transactions. The journal number will basically auto-populate based on the last number that is in the system. So this journal has all the required fields. So now we are going to select save and close. Once we have done so, the check has been written back to the account, and the cash book register will now increase by the amount. So as you can see here, you have a $30,000 up here, JV005, and you can see that the cash book balance is now $6,600,000. So you have basically written back the check to the account. Okay. Alright, so we have done the first part, which is to write back the check. Alright, so now we are going to be doing the second part, which is to reissue the check. Alright, so I want to take you to a common mistake that a lot of persons make. And the common mistake that a lot of persons make where stale-dated checks are concerned is to go back to the original transaction and edit the original transaction. So they go back to it and cancel that original check that was issued. And let's say this check was issued in January. They go back to January, you change that check to 0. It basically will throw out your reports for January, and it will throw out your bank reconciliation as well. It will throw out your income and expenditure report, and it will throw out your bank reconciliation report. So if you were dealing with, for instance, a check that was cancelled, in the sense that you wrote the check for a service to be performed, and then you did not get the service, or you did not bother with the service, and so you cancel the check, then you could go back and just cancel that check. It will not affect your financial significantly. However, in the case of a stale-dated check, that should not be done, and this is what should be done in that case. So we are going to look at the reissuing aspect, and it is very important that when you are reissuing this check, you do not double up the expenditure by charging the expenditure account again. So when you are reissuing this stale-dated check, we are going to basically be clearing out the stale-dated checks payable account. And as you can see, when I go to pay bills and I select the stale-dated checks payables account, you will see that this $30,000 is outstanding, that is there to be paid. So this stale-dated checks sub account of payables should have all your stale-dated checks that you need to reissue. So what you're going to do is to click on the vendor that you want to pay, or the check that you want to reissue. Check your balance to see that you have enough money to cover the check. Select the method of payment, and you're going to select pay selected bills, and now you can enter the new check number. And basically you have reissued this check. So you would have done that once the vendor come forward and request that the check, or write a letter to request the check to be reissued. Alright, we are going to move on to the next section, which is using the undeposited funds account. And the undeposited funds account by default is an account that is created in QuickBooks, so you don't have to create this account. Once you start using QuickBooks, this account will be created by default. It is an other current asset account, and it basically records all your funds that you receive in-house. So if you should receive funds to a bank account directly, those funds would not go to the undeposited funds account. The undeposited funds account is basically a cash on hand account. So if you write a receipt for the sale of crest or the sale of tie, and you collect the funds from a student, that would go to your undeposited funds account until you lodge those receipts to the bank account. Alright, so we're going to do a quick example. We're going to create a receipt. So to create a receipt, we're going to go to customer, enter sales receipt, and we're going to select the name of the student, and we're going to select the item. So let's say the student purchased one tie and one crest. So that will total to $1,250. We're going to assign the class. And method of payment is cash. We're going to select save and close. Alright, what we need to ensure when we do our receipts is that the correct account is selected. Once you have told QuickBooks that you don't want your undeposited funds to be your default account, means that you'll have the option of sending a receipt directly to a bank account at the time of preparing a receipt. So we need to verify that the receipt that we just did actually went to the correct account. So I'm going to find that receipt. To find a receipt, you can click on find, and you should see all the receipts listed. Alright, so we're gonna check to see whether or not we have put it to the right account, and we have made an error here because we put it directly to the NCB fees account, and it is not a direct deposit. So this should have gone to your undeposited funds account. And persons may be wondering why they are not seeing this option of selecting the account here. If you are not seeing that option, it simply means that you have not gone to edit and preferences and made your and payments, I should say, and made your untick undeposited funds as a default deposit to account. So you have to go to preferences, payments, and company preferences, and untick where you have use undeposited funds as a default deposit to account. That should not be ticked. Once it is not ticked, then you get the option of choosing the account. So we just made that correction, and now you can see where your undeposited funds is now showing that $1,250. So that is the cash that is on hand at the school. To make a deposit, you're writing up your lodgement. This would basically pop up to be deposited. But let's do another receipt. We go to customer and enter sales receipt. We're gonna do another receipt for a student. And let's say the student only need a crest. Now my undeposited funds is now $1,500. So let's say the following day I'm going to prepare my lodgement. To do so, I need to go to banking and select make deposit. And what I will see here is all the receipts that are there to be deposited. Alright, so that's basically how you would have used the undeposited funds. Now let's move on to recording deposits. Alright, so whenever you go to banking, you can go to banking from the menu bar, or you can go to banking from the home screen or the dashboard. And over here you'll see the number 2 on the vault. It means that you have 2 receipts in your vault to be deposited. So you can simply click the vault, or you can go to banking and you can click make deposits. So either one you prefer. So when you write up your lodgement, it is recommended that you write the receipt range on your receipt, on your lodgement voucher. So you write from receipt number 321682 to 32169. You're going to be ticking them. So to the very left, you're going to place a tick, and it shows you your total that you are depositing. and you're going to select OK, and it will show your deposit total of $1,500. Alright, and this basically ensure that this system basically ensure that you do your lodgements intact. So in doing the deposit, say for instance, I know some schools don't have to, like private schools may not have to lodge funds intact, and I still have to accommodate them. So if you're not lodging the entire $1,500, you can use this cashback feature in case you spend some money on something else. Say you spend $500 to do something. Right. If you have done any form of spending, you can basically move it to another cash account. So if you have a petty cash account, you can move the funds to a petty cash account. Let's create an account called petty cash. Alright, so let's say we move this $500 to petty cash. I selected save and close, so it would show that $500 went to the petty cash account and the $1,000 would have gone to the account that we selected to make the deposit. I need to verify the account that we actually sent the lodgement to. Right, I think we selected subvention, but it should be fees. It's important that you select the correct account here. If we check the fees account, we should see it now. And there it is, $1,000. That is how you would have recorded a deposit. We're going to look at transferring funds between accounts. And from time to time, schools may need to do a transfer from one bank account to the next, either because an account may be overdrawn, or it could be that the Ministry of Education put the funds in one account and then the bursar would then need to transfer the funds to the relevant accounts. So the Ministry send the funds, provide a warrant statement with the breakdown, then the bursars do the transfer. So in that case, the easiest way to get this done is to go to banking and you go to transfer funds, and you're going to select the account that you are transferring the funds from. So let's say the funds come to the fees account and you are to transfer to the subvention account. Let's say it's $2 million. Remember, it could be funds transfer as per warrant statement. Well, it's really two accounts that are involved here, but you can just select the from account as the class. And you select the date of the transfer. So if the transfer was done on the 30th of September, you select the date that the transfer was done. And you're going to select save and close. And we're going to verify that the transfer was done by going to the register. And here we can see the $2 million coming out. And it is showing that it went to the subvention account. We're going to look at the subvention account to see that it actually went to the subvention account. And yes, we are seeing where that $2 million basically was deposited to the subvention account, which brings the cash book balance for the subvention to $3.7 million approximately. That's one way of doing a transfer, and that is suitable if you are doing a transfer by way of online banking. If you are doing a transfer where you are going to be writing a check to the other account, it means that if you write the check today, you may not lodge the check until, let's say for instance, it's close to the end of the month. You may not lodge the check until the early part of the other month. So what will happen is that you will have the check there as being undeposited or deposit in transit where the other account is concerned. So in that case, to do that bank transfer, you'd simply have to use the right checks. And you put the name of the school as the payee. And you enter the amount. Let's say we are transferring to the canteen. Let's say we are transferring to the canteen from the fees account. Then you would select the fees as the bank account. Then you would put the name of the school as the payee. Then you enter the amount that you are transferring. And you're going to put the bank account down here. So if it's to the canteen account, you're going to type canteen down here and it should pop up. And you select save and close. So this is really a slower method of doing it, but this is suitable if you are writing a check. We're now going to look at accounting for direct deposits. And a direct deposit would be, for example, a student have made a direct deposit to the bank account for parent contribution. Well, in that case, what you will do is go to banking and you go to make deposit. There are more than one ways of doing it. You can do it from banking, make deposits, enter the name of the student, But bear in mind, if you are using, if you have done an invoice for the student, you won't be able to do it this way, because then the money will not go against the invoice. This is if you are not using the invoicing aspect. This is if you are just using the cash basis of accounting. If you are using the accruals basis and you have invoiced all your students, to record that direct deposits, you would go to customer and receive payment. And you would basically select the relevant invoice and apply the payment to it and send it to the directly to the account that you want to send it to. In this case, the fees account. So that is if you are using invoicing. If you are not using invoicing, if you are just recording the payment as the payment comes in, then what you would then need to do is to go to banking and go to record deposits. Or make deposits. There are two more ways you can do this. So I just showed you 2 ways of doing it. There are 2 more ways. So this way does not use the invoicing. So you'll enter parent contribution from the in the account section, from account, and in the memo you can put a narration and the payment method, which is direct deposit. Put the class and you put the amount. Then you select the account that it was deposited to, and you select the date of the deposit as per your bank statement or the voucher that the student would have presented. You select save and close, and this basically will go directly to the bank account. You can do it in the register as well. You can go to the check register, select the register, and you can post it can enter the name of the account, parent contribution, enter the memo, they all will give you the same result. All will give you the same result. But if you are doing a lot, I think maybe the register would be the easiest way to post them. The fourth way of doing it is by simply generating a sales receipt. So you go to customer, enter sales receipt, and you populate the form and select the account that you would directly send the funds to, and select the parent contribution item, save and close. So that is how we would account for direct deposits. Now we're going to look at bank service fees and charges. And bank service fees and charges are normally entered at the end of a period when you are doing your reconciliation. So you may have a checkbook charge. So you have ordered some new check leaves, or you did a wire transfer and the bank charge you for it. You can enter it from the register. You go to check register. And the check register allow you to enter your bank charges in detail, because your bank may have other charges such as stamp duty. You may have you may run an overdraft and they charge you interest. So you may need to enter those separate. So you would enter the name of the bank and you select the relevant account, which would be on your budget. Maybe it's other expenditure, but you would enter the account that is relevant to banking fees. Then you put the memo. So if this is a checkbook charge, put checkbook charges. Enter it as a payment. Second way of entering your bank charges is when you are doing your reconciliation. Is banking, reconcile. You can enter you can basically add up all your bank charges on your bank statement and you make one lump sum entry to the service charge column. So that is the second way of doing it, and this is recommended if you basically want to have one lump sum entry on your recon for bank charges. But for instance, if your bank charges are all over on your statement, I would recommend entering them in detail, item by item, by using the register. We're going to finally look at the bank reconciliation process. And bank reconciliation is very simple. Once you have done all your postings, that is, you have entered all your transactions, all your checks, and you have entered all your receipts and your bank charges, then it's time to reconcile your account. So to reconcile your account, you go to banking and you go to reconcile. And to begin your reconciliation, you need to first select the account that you are reconciling. You're going to select the ending date, which is normally at the end of a month. So let's say we are reconciling the 30th of September. Or let's use a future date, because we have done reconciliation for the 30th of September for this account. So let's say that we have reconciled for the 30th of September, and now we want to reconcile as at the 31st of October. And our statement balance, beginning balance, was $1.5 million. And let's say our balance is now $6.5 million. We need to enter our service charges. Let's say our service charges accumulates to $5,500. The same thing as your bank charge. The date should be the 31st of October, whichever date that you are reconciling to. You put in the account for your bank charge. That is the account that your bank charge would go to. and you enter the class. If there's any interest earned, which is highly unlikely, you would basically enter the interest to an income account. So if there is any income, you'd enter interest, you'd enter to the interest income account. And you select the class as well. Then you would select continue. And this is basically the reconciliation interface. And what this will show, on your left you have the checks and your payments, and on the right you have your deposits. So for instance, you wrote back some checks here, so you did a write back, so you are going to tick, you're going to tick all of those. No, you're not going to tick the write backs. You're going to tick all the deposits that you have done. So this is a deposit of $1,000, and this is another deposit here for 15,500. This is another deposit for 5.5 million. Another deposit for 8,000. Alright, at the bottom right of the recon screen, you will see the difference. Whenever this difference is 0, it means that your account has been reconciled. So your account is not reconciled until this amount here is 0. Your ending balance here is actually your balance on your bank statement. So the $6.5 million is the balance on your bank statement, and the cleared balance here is your cash book balance. So this is the running balance on your cash book. We're gonna tick the checks. So we're gonna tick all the checks that appear on your bank statement. So you'll only be ticking what appears on your statement. So you're going to be ticking all the checks and payments that actually occur on your bank statement. So as you can see now, our difference is $13,000. But let's say a check was not posted, and that is why we are out. You don't necessarily have to close this window. You can just go to banking and go to write checks. And you would select the account, and you're gonna enter the expense account or the expenditure account and the amount, which is $13,000. Alright, so once I save and close, I will get the opportunity to actually tick this amount, this check. And you notice that once I tick that check, my difference is now 0. I can go ahead and reconcile. Once I click on reconcile, the system will generate 2 reports. And that is a reconciliation detail and a reconciliation summary. So that is the reconciliation. So basically your ending balance down here is your cash book ending balance, and the cleared balance up here is your bank balance. and the detail would basically elaborate on what is there. So basically, your cleared balance is your bank balance. Your ending balance here, which is your register balance, is your cash book balance. So you have $6.5 million at the bank. However, you have uncleared transactions. You have 3 uncleared checks totaling $3 million. And you have 7 deposits that are in transit totaling $102,000. So if we want to see the details of those, we go to the reconciliation detail, which basically shows the breakdown. So it shows all the cleared checks that came in, 524,500. It shows the deposits that came in totaling approximately $5.5 million. And it shows the unclear transaction. It shows the 3 checks that total the $3 million, which is a check for $30,000, a check for $2 million, and a check for $1 million. So it gives a detail of what was actually displayed on this summary right here. And basically you would export this to Excel, and you would have format it, stamp it, and sign it and put it in your file.